Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Kansas City Profiles presented by Easton Roofing, and a fantastic conversation today with Jeff Bury, longtime PGA professional. He has worked at some of the most iconic venues in all of golf, from Pinehurst to Prairie Dunes to Wolf Creek in this area. He started out his golfing life in Connecticut as a young boy, switching over from being a paper boy to a caddy and realizing that that was a little more lucrative, and then falling completely in love with the game, pursuing his love of the game while in the U.S. Navy all over the world, and then moving into the world of being a golf professional in small steps and eventually big giant steps, and pretty quickly. He has crossed paths with some of the most famous people in the world, and sometimes it was complete happenstance. Sometimes it's, of course, where you are, like his association with George Brett. But we've got stories about greats of the game of golf as well, from Snead to Watson to Nicklaus to Palmer, and on and on and on. He has a barrage of stories, and he has told them in his brand new book, Blessed, Stories in the Life of a Golf Professional. And we are going to talk about this book. We are going to talk about Jeff Bury. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of different stories from the guy who has graced our area for a long, long time and been a part of golf from Florida to North Carolina to Kansas and beyond. It's a great conversation with a guy with all kinds of enthusiasm for life, for golf, and for, well, everything that you should really care about, family and everything else. Our conversation coming up next with Jeff Bury on Kansas City Profiles. It's always presented by Easton Roofing.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing. And Joe, there's all kinds of roofing companies in Kansas City. People see their trucks, they see their ads, they see their commercials on TV. What separates you out from the pack?
Danny, you know, there's a lot of roofers in Kansas City that are good roofers that can put a good roof on, but we like to pride ourselves on giving you a good customer service experience. From the first time you call, you're going to get a friendly voice on the phone. We're going to let you know what's happening and when it's happening. And, you know, the other piece is some companies are small enough to do small jobs. Some companies are big enough to do big jobs. You know, we're right there in the middle. We can handle the little stuff. We can handle your repairs all the way up to your big commercial roofs.
So what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you at Easton Roofing?
You can find us at eastonroofing.com, or you can always call us at 913-257-5426. That's 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. Time to spend a few minutes with my good friend Jeff Dillon from Dillon's Heating and Cooling. And Jeff, what differentiates your company from others in the industry?
Plain and simple, we're honest. We have integrity, and we're going to do things right the first time. There's way too many companies out there that lie, cheat, hide things from the homeowner or customer, and we're not about that. It's kind of funny sometimes. I actually am so honest with some people, it kind of surprises them, but sometimes it's good for business, sometimes it's bad for business, but ultimately it's the kind of business that I want to run, is an honest one.
And that family way of treating things is part of your slogan, and it's also part of one of your great features that you offer to customers.
Our slogan is like family. Our most popular maintenance plan is called the Family Plan. It's very similar to a lot of ones out there. The little tweak that we do to ours, 1% off for every 2 years. They have a continued maintenance plan with us. If they have a maintenance plan for 10 years, then we give them 5% off. No questions asked.
You can find out more about Dillon's Heating and Cooling and all their great range of services at dillonsheatingandcooling.com. That's Dillon's with an S. The phone number, 913-214-1343. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. Let's have a brief conversation with David Schmidt from Pro Millennial. David, what differentiates you from other financial organizations?
I would say the passion we have for seeing our clients succeed is probably paramount to what we do here. There's no joy greater than watching a client accumulate wealth. I had a client that I've had for many years was able to buy his dream warehouse. Nothing too extravagant, but we had a savings plan in place and was able to see him fulfill his dreams.
And what else motivates you in this industry?
Well, lately it's been finding out inconsistencies in the marketplace, ferreting out some more than questionable ideas out there that what we're seeing with Bitcoin and a few of these other cryptocurrencies right now. I'm in the opinion where if it's untraceable, it really needs to be regulated in a big way right now.
To get more information and advice from David, visit promillennial.com or call 816-221-7775. That's 816-221-7775. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkScale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Jeff, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I've known you through the years, and of course you're a golfing and personal icon in this area, and it's just a pleasure to have you on our podcast today. First of all, I just thought of it. Your name is James F. Bury, Jr. Why are you Jeff?
Well, that's start off with an interesting question. My dad and I were both called Jim, and it got kind of confusing around the house, so I kind of inherited the initials JF. And my kids, the kids that I hung out with, my friends, they all blended that JF to Jeff, and it seemed to stick. And so anybody who calls me by James or Jim really doesn't know me. I think Jeff is my tagline.
Did your family still call you Jim? Or?
No, they called me JF.
Oh, okay.
JF.
All right. Cool. Well, you grew up in Norwalk, Connecticut, and really as a young boy. Well, tell me a little bit about your parents first.
Oh, I had, I grew up in what I guess you'd call a blue-collar family. My dad worked nights in a battery factory, and my mom, ironically, worked as a bookkeeper at Golf Digest. Golf Digest had its home offices on Scribner Avenue in Norwalk, Connecticut, and so that was kind of ironic that my career took me where it did. So my mom and dad were great. My mom's maiden name was Putnam, so we have a little lineage there with New England history and Israel Putnam. And my dad was a depression guy, and he is Hungarian. And it was a great home. I have a brother and a sister. I'm the oldest, and I don't think we could have grown up in a better place than Norwalk, Connecticut.
You talk about in the book, and of course we talked about the book in the open, and that you had a newspaper route, and it was probably a newspaper route back there.
Route, yeah.
As we're both from New England, and then you discovered that caddying was going to be a little bit more lucrative.
Yeah, it was really, it was kind of a no-brainer. I was delivering papers. We have some pretty harsh winters in the New England and Connecticut and some pretty hot summers. And I'd work all week and deliver papers Monday through Saturday and make $4 a week. It would take me 2 to 3 hours a day. Saturdays were extremely long because I had to collect the fees. And so one day, a friend of mine, his older brother, said, "Why don't you come up and caddy?" And I had fooled around a little bit with golf clubs, so I went up to the golf course, and sure enough, the caddy gave me a quick lesson in looping, and I went out with one bag, and I earned as much money pretty much in 2 hours as I earned in a week. So the math made sense to me. So that's kind of the story there.
Was that your real introduction to the game?
No, I had an uncle that played, and my dad played a little bit. And we had odds and end clubs around the house, and I used to play in the yard. And I say in one of the stories, our yard was not very nice. Neighbors didn't appreciate our yard. Our lawn was a mess. I would put a tomato can in the front yard and in the ground and one in the backyard, and I'd play back and forth all day long. So it was worn out and raggedy, and neighbors would kind of mention it to my mom, and my mom would always say, "I'm raising kids, not grass." That was her line. "I'm raising kids and not grass." I had a wise mom.
That's cool. Did you play other sports when you were a kid?
Yeah, I was a crazy basketball player. I played all the time. Our elementary school, which was just a block away down in the neighborhood, had a great outdoor basketball court with chain nets. I mean, you probably recall those. And I would go down there for hours and hours and shoot baskets, and didn't play biddy league or junior basketball, but I did play basketball in high school. I think I was such a freak, I guess, with basketball. We did a 12-inch snowstorm, and I'd shovel the court and hope for it to dry, and then go shoot baskets and kind of be framed in by the snowdrifts. So yeah, I love basketball. Played a little bit of baseball. Tennis, I maybe once or twice, but no, we did. We being in New England, we ice skated. That
Right.
was something that did a lot. I wasn't a hockey player, but I did skate.
And you eventually played with Calvin Murphy, is that correct?
Yeah, my junior year in high school, 1966, I played JV basketball as a junior, which I'm pretty proud of that because our school won the state high school championship, and the varsity was tremendous. Well, for the state tournament, I moved up to varsity and got to play in the state championship game, and there's a good story in the book about that. Yeah, Calvin Murphy was one of the most incredible athletes you could ever imagine. He played, I think, 13 years for the Houston Rockets and Niagara, All-American.
He was like 5'9".
5'9", and yeah, the practices were something. I can't tell you how many times I was hit with a no-look pass right in the nose. He was just so quick and so fast, and he was also a caddy, Calvin, which was kind of interesting. He caddied at a club in Westport, Connecticut, and did play some golf. But yeah, what a thing to have a state championship. I remember I asked Coach Marty Schottenheimer one time what his greatest accomplishment was in sports, and this may surprise some people, but he said, "The championship I won." And you think, well, which championships did Marty win? Well, he won the Pennsylvania State High School Championship in basketball, and he was on that team. So, and really, it's something you have forever. When you win a state championship, it's with you. So,
When did you feel like you had some aptitude for the game of golf?
it came pretty quickly. As I caddied, I had an opportunity to play a really good country club, and I learned what real golf was like, because with my dad and playing the golf I played, they were mostly at, I would call, 9-hole rural tin cup type golf courses. I mean, they weren't manicured, they didn't have bunkers, but the golf course, the country club where I caddied, of course, had it all. And so I got to play there, and I quickly learned that, hey, this is fun, and I was so motivated to improve that I played all I could. As soon as I became old enough, I went to work on the grounds crew so I could play golf every day instead of just Mondays on the course, because as part of the grounds crew in the summer, we could play in the evenings. So, yeah, and I entered every junior tournament you could imagine. I mean, I went up to New England, up to Massachusetts and Worcester, and up to Essex County Club in Boston and played. I played in the Met Junior, the Connecticut State Junior. Probably I played my best tournament ever in the Connecticut State Junior Championship. I lost in the semifinals. And I think probably my junior golf career was the highlight of my golf career playing-wise. I played okay as a golf pro, but never like I played there.
You went to college, but you didn't. It wasn't for you. Tell us a story about you went to Central Connecticut and you were going to play a little golf, a little basketball maybe, but
Right.
you only went for a semester. Why was that?
Well, I went to school and I was not really recruited, but I probably would have played basketball at Central, and I knew I could play golf because of my skills. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And my basketball coach suggested Central Connecticut, and I was accepted and got up there in New Britain, Connecticut. And it was I was like a duck out of water. I just didn't fit. I had trouble focusing. I wasn't. I really was not. It was not made for me, and I realized it. And at the time, it was 1968, and there were things brewing over in Asia, in Vietnam, and there was a draft lottery, and my number was, I won that lottery, by the way, and it was not a good one to win. And
I won too, but I won the other way, 279.
Oh, wow.
So I was in the last one.
Well, it was a deal where I knew a very good golfer who was a Navy recruiter, and I considered I said I need to look at the services, and so I thought about Air Force, Navy. I didn't ever really consider Army or Marines. I just felt like the Navy or Air Force might be better, and so I chose the Navy and did that.
You have a couple of, before we I get past it and don't tell them, there's a couple of really cool stories from your caddying days before you moved on to college and then to the Navy, and a couple of those involve Jim McKay and Paul Newman. Why don't you tell those two stories?
Oh,
By the
wow.
way, there's about 1 million stories, folks, in this book, so we're not going to cover them all by any stretch of the imagination. So you'll have plenty of reason to go out and get the book blessed. But tell the Jim McKay and the Paul Newman.
Okay. Well, this all relates to caddying, as Danny said. The Paul Newman story goes like this. And Mondays was caddy day at the golf course, and all the caddies could play Monday. If it was in the autumn, you could play after school. If it was in the summer, you could play all day. And so one autumn afternoon, I left school, went home, got on my bicycle, threw my clubs over my shoulder, and I rode my bike to a club about 4 miles from Shore Haven. Shore Haven, maybe back up a minute. If our golf course was closed for maintenance, we had a reciprocal arrangement to play a club in an adjacent town, Westport. And their caddies could do the same. If their course was closed on Monday, they could come. So it's a Monday, and it's after school, and our course I knew was going to be closed. They were airifying the greens. And so I got home as quick as I could, grabbed my golf clubs, slung them over my shoulder, jumped on my bike, and rode the 4 miles on the bike over to Birchwood Country Club. And it was a beautiful autumn day, but there was nobody there. So I hit a couple putts, and I was walking over to the first tee to play all by myself. And this gentleman walks up, and he says, "Are you alone?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Mind if I play along?" And I said, "Absolutely, I'd love it." And so we played 18 holes and had a good time and finished it up. I played 9 holes, got on my bike, rode back home, and by now it's dark, and my mom has dinner in the oven like she always did. She knew I'd be late, but she had my dinner there. I sat down by myself. Everyone else had eaten, and she sat down with me, and she said, "How'd you play?" And I said, "Well, played pretty good, Mom. I shot 38, and for a 14-year-old, not bad on a strange golf course." And she said, "Play with anybody?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I played with a really nice guy." And I said, it was really fun to play with. He said, did he play very well? I said, "No, I think he shot 52 or something, but he was really a nice guy." He said, "What was he like?" And I said, "Well, he had the bluest eyes you've ever seen." And she said, "Really? What was his name?" And I said, "I don't remember his last name. I know his first name was Paul." So I said, "But I've got the scorecard that he kept in the bag." So I went out to the hallway and got my golf bag scorecard out, brought it in, handed it to my mom, and it was Paul Newman. And now the title of that story is their mom always taught me to look people in the eyes. And so, I mean, I didn't really know who Paul Newman was. I played 9 holes with him and would have not ever known had I not. My mom said something about it when she saw the scorecard. But I sure know about Paul Newman now, and I think I've seen every movie. And my mom almost fainted because I think he was kind of the, what would you call it?
Heartthrob.
The heartthrob of the time, yeah, for sure.
All you have to do is to look at any pictures of him or from then, for sure. And the picture in the book of him is he looks very stylish on the golf course. Too.
Yeah, and the one picture there was taken at a driving range in Westport, right on US 1. And so the other story, which probably gets more comments than any story in the book, I think, is the story of Jim McKay. And I was a new raw caddy, and I was at Shorehaven Golf Club, and the caddy master, it's titled Our Secret, is the title of the story. And the caddy master comes back, and it's an autumn day again, and it's kind of dreary, and there aren't many golfers playing. Pretty much everybody's on the back 9 holes. And caddy master comes back and says, I have a single. Who wants to go? And there's about 6 or 7 caddies there, and they're all double caddies. They're used to making twice the money carrying 2 bags. And I'm new, so I'm still carrying 1 bag. So I volunteer, raise my hand. I'm ready to go, caddy master Joe. And back up again. One of the caddies says, who is it? And the caddy master said, it's Mr. McKay. And the 5 or 6 other caddies went, ooh, they started to back up because Jim McKay wasn't known as one of the better golfers. And I, quite frankly, I don't know if he was the best tipper. But anyhow, I took him. And we went out, and I didn't have high expectations for how he was going to play, and I was probably right. First 4 holes, he makes 3 double bogeys and a bogey. I remember that clearly because I was learning all about scoring and stuff. But we get to the 5th hole, and the 5th hole at Shorehaven is a 200-yard par 3 from a very elevated tee with a valley in front of the green and a green that is relatively flat, bunkers both sides, right and left. And I hand him his driver because doesn't hit it very far.
Apparently.
And he says, Jeff, I've never hit this green in my life. And I said, oh, well, whatever. So he takes a couple practice swings, and he just flushes the driver. And it just hit it right on the screws. And the ball lands in the valley in front of the green, bounces twice, rolls up on the green, and goes in the hole for an ace. Now, I'm 14, 13 years old, and I'm ready to wet my pants. I mean, I'm so excited. I can't believe it. I've never seen a hole-in-one.
Right.
And here this guy makes a hole-in-one. He turns to me and he says, did that go in the hole? And I said, it sure did. And he's quiet for a minute, and then he says, Jeff, we can't ever tell anybody. And I said, why? He said, no one will believe me. I've never hit this green ever, and I'm not good enough to have done that. But I did it, but no one's going to believe us if we tell them. So I said, okay. So we play numbers 6, 7, 8, and 9, and he makes 2 bogeys and a couple more double bogeys. So he's not even made a par in 9 holes. And I'll never forget this. He fills out the little ticket. They fill out a ticket, and you run it to the caddy master, and the caddy master paid you cash. He fills out the little ticket for his charge, and he puts on there the 9-hole fee of $4, and I think he put $4 more tip. So wow, I made $8 in 9 holes and saw a hole-in-one. So the story gets cool from here. Years go by. I go through all my experiences, Navy experiences and everything, and I've been at Pinehurst for a couple of years, and I'm the head golf pro there, managing 6 golf courses. And ABC Television comes in every year and does the Hall of Fame Classic. And Goodyear Blimp, they have all the it's the biggest purse on the tour, so they're all there. I mean, Nicholas and Palmer and Weiskopf and Irwin and Raymond Floyd, you name them, they're there. So I'm in my office, and hear the phone ring, and my assistant secretary says, Jeff, there's a fellow on the phone, Jim McKay wants to talk to you. So this is 12, 14 years later. And I said, great. So I knew he was coming because he was the anchor for the broadcast.
Right.
So he says, hey, can you come over to the big hotel, the Carolina? I'm here now, and have a Coke, and I just want to catch up and talk to you. So I said, sure. So I buttoned up what I was doing, jumped on a golf cart, and rode down Carolina Vista over to the big hotel and met him. And we sat down and we talked for about 20 minutes, and he was doing research, I think, for his broadcast, asking me about Donald Ross and number 2 and North and South Championships and all kinds of stuff. But we get to the pretty much wrapping things up, and he says, do you remember our secret? And I said, I could never forget our secret. That hole-in-one you made was the first one I ever saw, and it was incredible. And he says, well, did you ever tell anybody? And I said, I told everybody I knew, my mom, my dad, my uncle, my cousins, the caddy master, all the caddies. I mean, all the kids in school, I told everybody. And he said, what did they say? And I said, nobody believed me. So he was right. He was absolutely right.
So you're in the Navy, you were able to bring your clubs wherever you went. You were able to store them, and through your 4+ years in the Navy, you used that opportunity to, on your days off, play golf around the world.
Yeah, that, in the forward of the book, I talk about sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you work hard, you can make things happen. Well, in this case, I was lucky, very lucky. When I tested out, when I enlisted in the Navy and tested out, I seemed to be a good fit for 3 different positions. One would have been an electronics technician, one was an electrician's mate, and one was an interior communications electrician. And I didn't know which one I wanted or where I wanted to go, so it was like a pick one of 3. And I drew out interior communications electrician, and what a break that was, because on a World War II destroyer, there's a room where they have the gyro compass, and the gyro compass is for navigation, and it also has a fire control computer. It's climatized, and it's pretty much the only people allowed in there are IC communications electricians and the people who handle the fire control computer. And that room has rubber matting and deck plates, and you can literally unscrew the metal deck plates, and there's a big gap in there. So I could put my golf clubs in a suitcase in there and batten it down again and put the carpet back, the rubber matting back. And so I had a special place to store stuff that I wouldn't have had I had either of the other 2 jobs. And so I learned quickly when we went to the Caribbean for the first time. I kind of got permission from the chief petty officer I was working with, and if I could put my clubs there, and he okayed it. So I played all over the Caribbean the first cruise, and that became common through the Mediterranean. And I mean, we played golf from Athens, Greece, to Valletta, Malta, to Naples, Italy, to Monaco, actually Monte Carlo, and it was really, really quite a deal. And really, it was luck. I mean, if I hadn't had that space to put my clubs, it wouldn't have happened.
That's pretty amazing. So when you're about to come out of the Navy after this great personal experience and golf experience, what are you thinking about doing?
Well, I knew midway or early on in my naval career, I was going to be in the golf business. I knew it because it was in my blood, and I really started researching about the PGA apprentice program and what it takes to become a Class A pro, and so I knew all about this stuff. And I had some friends that were not in the service who had done that, had been through or were going through the program, and so I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I also knew that if I got into the business, I was going to work for the very best at the very best. And so I kind of targeted 2 places to possibly work as a young apprentice, and that was Wingfoot in Mamaroneck, New York, which very familiar with, just hosting the U.S. Open.
Of course.
And the other was Weburn's Country Club in Darien, Connecticut. And Weburn's probably the best club in Connecticut. I mean, I would probably say it is the best club in Connecticut. And they both had great professionals who were recognized as great mentors. Claude Harmon at Wingfoot and Mike Crack at Webburn. And I knew I was going to work for one of those 2 people at one of those 2 places. And
it's one thing to say you knew it. How do you make that happen?
Well, I was one day out of the Navy, and Darien happened to be closer to Norwalk than Mamaroneck. So I got in my car and I put on the only civilian clothes I had that fit, really. I mean, and I went down to Webburn and I walked in. It was a March day, and Mike Crack was there. And I had known Mike because we played our high school conference championship at that course every year. And Mike was one of my heroes, and to this day is one of my heroes. So I went into the golf shop and I introduced myself, and I was a little nervous. My heart was pounding, and I said, Mike, Mr. Crack, I'm Jeff Bury, and I would like to get into the golf business, and I would love to work with you because I feel that's the best place I could be. And he said, do you have a resume? And I said to myself, I was quiet. I said, what's a resume? I didn't even know what a resume was. And that's the truth. I didn't know what a resume was. And he said, I told him I had just gotten out of the Navy 2 days before. And he says, well, why didn't you send me something before? Because I've kind of got my staff all set up for this year. So anyhow, I felt like I'd blown it. I didn't know what a resume was, and I really didn't contact him soon enough because the season was about to begin. April probably would be there. So I went home and I was game planning how I was going to approach Mr. Harmon and at Wingfoot, because I figured Weburn was not going to happen. Well, turns out Mr. Crack, Mike, called the local club pro at our public course where I had won the first city championship, Oak Hill Golf Course in Norwalk. And he called Vinny Grillo and asked about me, and Vinny told him some nice stuff, I guess, because Vinny called me and said, you're going to get a call back from Mike Crack. And sure enough, about an hour later, Mike Crack called me and said, can you come by tomorrow? And he hired me, and at the lowest possible position, and but I was in, and that was all I needed. That door opens, because I knew I had clear goals, and that was pretty fun to see it and make it happen.
Did you have any designs at any point on playing golf as a career?
I think most everybody that plays golf
Right.
sometime wants to. They say, I'd like to play, and I had pretty good success as a apprentice assistant pro playing in the Met section in New York. We played pretty much every Monday, and but I was never that tour caliber player, but still a wannabe, I guess. And
Also, at that point in time, we're talking about the mid '70s or early to mid '70s. Unless you were going to be a star player, yeah, that was a tough go.
oh yeah, I mean, with the Monday qualifyings and all the travel and it was.
And the money wasn't great.
It wasn't great. Most golfers my era probably did a little mini tour stint to see how they could do, maybe Florida in the winter or stuff. And I did a little bit of that when I was working at Johns Island. But I my dream came true because I got to play in 3 Hall of Fame Classics. And the way that worked was, if you're the host professional, you get a sponsor's exemption. So I actually played 3 tour events and missed playing in Greensboro by 1 stroke in the Monday qualifier. So I had my moments, and I can't say I had great success, but I got to do it. And I mean, I'll tell you, it's pretty exciting when 2 people down are Jack Nicklaus from you, Weisskopf's next to you, Tom Watson's to the right of you, and Gabe Brewer's, Raymond Floyd's down the other end, and you're sitting there with your caddy with your name on his back, and people want your autograph. They don't know who you are, but they want your autograph. But it was, so I've had a little taste of it, and I'll tell you, it is not as easy as people might think it is.
Yeah, I don't think people, if they think it's easy, then they're out of their minds, and it was much tougher at that point in time, obviously.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from WreckExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident. From David Cowan, visit WreckExpert.com and learn more. We're here with Michael Barber, the CEO and founder of Microlight Corporation of America, the world leaders in laser therapy. And Michael, tell us a little bit about your product.
Our device is using a particular wavelength and power to reduce pain and swelling. My background is surgical lasers, but I've been involved with this particular device now for about the last 20 years, actually.
And I know that it works because I've had it
There you
used
go.
on me as well. And tell us about the relationship you have with your company and Canaway.
It's what I call a strategic business relationship in that Canaway, the leader in the field of the cannabinoid systems and CBD oil, but our device used in conjunction with Canaway CBD oil gives a better pain relief outcome for the patient.
And if you want to get that pain relief outcome like I did, you can reach their local representative, Sherry McCants, at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Llewellyn for the 23rd Street Brewery. Thank you so much for supporting local restaurants, especially through this pandemic. And you know what? We're almost through it. At the 23rd Street Brewery, we have brought in a few more tables. You can wear a mask if you want, or not. It's your choice. Other than that, we're open 11:30 every single day. So come see us at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence.
We're here once again with Dr. Brad Woodle from Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. Springtime, good weather's finally here. People want to stay active, and it's your job to make sure that they can stay active, and be healthy.
Danny, we see a lot of not just weekend warriors, but people that every day are having that want to get back to activity. Whether you're starting with walking, jogging, or maybe that first 5K of the year, we want to help you out. We specialize in taking care of all ages, from kids all the way to grandmas and grandpas, but absolutely specialize in getting you back to full function and keeping you in great shape.
So in short, how do we go about doing that?
The first thing is to schedule a consultation with one of our doctors and therapists so we can see how you move and how you're supposed to move. Based on our assessment, we can put together a short treatment plan and a set of goals to help you both feel better, function better, and most importantly, stay better for this year and many years to come.
Learn more at asfca.com/Danny. That's asfca.com/Danny.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
We're speaking with Jeff Bury. His new book is Blessed, the Stories in the Life of a Golf Professional. He's going to tell a few of these today, but there's a zillion fantastic stories in this book. So, while we're talking about it, how can people get the book?
Well, yeah, the book is, my wife Kathy and I, we funded the first printing of the book. And we made the decision that all the proceeds from the book would go to one of 5 junior golf foundations. So I'm very active in junior golf in Kansas City. We work with the First Tee, the Kansas Golf Foundation, the Midwest PGA Section Foundation, Youth on Course, and we also have the new Claw Valley Junior Golf Foundation. So to answer your question, Danny, the best way to get the book is probably through the Kansas Golf Foundation website. They have a button there. You can get it. And if you contribute $50, you get the book. And it's probably the simplest way. You also can go to Twin Oaks Golf if you want to happen to be near Lawrence, Eudora, right on K-10 Highway. I have books there, and you can pick one up there, and you can choose the organization you'd like to donate to. But in 5 weeks, we've raised almost $35,000.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm thrilled that we can be a small part of those big organizations.
And I'm glad to be a small part of trying to help out. So you start out at Weburn, and in the winters you were at St. John's Island. But then, I mean, you had a pretty darn rapid rise in the world of golf professional. I mean, the next stop for you was Pinehurst, one of the most iconic places for golf in the world, and you weren't exactly 100 years old when you went there.
No, that's, again, I think there's that luck part of it, or something enters in here. I had worked at Johns Island and worked at Weburn in the summers, Johns Island in the winters, and got my PGA membership, and I was ready to go to work, ready to be a head golf professional. And there were a few opportunities that came up, and I did a couple interviews just for experience and not expecting to get the jobs. But after my last season at Weburn, it was time to go. I needed to be a head golf pro somewhere. And I was at the PGA Merchandise Show in Orlando, and I came across the fellow who was vice president and director of golf at Pinehurst, and his name was Lou Miller. And I would say Lou Miller, Mike Crack, and Roy Pace, who are mentioned in the book, are my three mentors. Lou said, "What are you doing, Jeff?" And I said, "Well, I'm kind of still searching. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to go." But he said, "I'm going to go somewhere." And he says, "Well, I got a job for you." And I said, what do you have? He said, "Well, we're opening up the brand new Tom Fazio number 6 golf course at Pinehurst, and it's separate from the first 5. And he said, we're going to have a separate pro shop, and we need a head pro there for the number 6 course only." So I said, wow, what a place. Pinehurst on a resume to follow where I've been. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
So I said, this was, I just met my wife to be, Kathy, and she was at the PGA show with me. And I said, it was about January 28th. I said, "When do you need me?" He said, "February 1st. So everything I owned was in Connecticut practically. And so I had to go to Connecticut and back to Pinehurst to do all that. So anyhow, I get to Pinehurst, and I'm a single guy at the time, and I get all set with lodging, and I'm kind of.
And how old are you at this point in time?
25, 26.
Yeah, right.
And I'm hit with a few surprises. The first surprise is the number 6 golf course is not ready to be opened. The second surprise is I'm not working for Lou Miller. I'm working for a golf professional named Jay Overton. And Jay didn't know Lou had hired me, and I didn't know Jay Overton was going to be my boss, my report. Saying we're very different personalities. And Jay's a great guy, and we're really good friends, but we're different. Yeah. And so I ended up basically, I had a 40-hour work week as a clerk in the shop, the big shop at Pinehurst where the 5 courses are out of, and I was with 2 young entry-level apprentices. And I was a Class A member. And so I was kind of a little bit, I felt like overqualified doing what I was doing, but Lou Miller had given me the green light to do whatever I want to do in my free time, whatever I want to do. And teaching, schools, doing fundraisers, whatever I wanted to do. So anyhow, I worked that whole season, and I was going to go to Cleveland, Ohio for a job. And because number 6 course wasn't going to be what I thought it was going to be, and so Jay Overton ends up being offered and takes the director of golf job at Innisbrook in Florida.
Right. Florida, yeah.
So, and a gigantic job. So they didn't interview anybody. They hired me to be the head golf pro to run all 6 courses, and they wouldn't let me go. So I felt really good about that. It's always good to feel wanted.
I would think that it feels pretty good to that. You mentioned you met your wife around this particular time, and you're somebody who, as it says in the book, believes in love at first sight, right?
Yeah, this sounds really strange probably, but I never had time for girls. I was always golfing or playing basketball or doing something, and I don't know. I never really I never really was smitten or whatever the word is. I just couldn't get. I had too much to do, but I'm driving to Florida, and I had worked 3 winters at John's Island Club, which is spectacular, a beautiful, beautiful property in Vero Beach. And I was going down to Naples to be with Jim McClain and Rick Warner, 2 of my really good friends, and work with Ken Venturi. And so I stopped on Interstate 95, and they had toll booths then at the time, or payphones, phone booths. So I called my best friend in Vero Beach, and I told him I was heading south to South Florida, and he said, "You need to stay. Tonight we're having a beach party for the staff, our staff, and you started it 3 years ago, and we're going to have it tonight, coincidentally." I said, "I can't stay. I got to get down to Marco Island." And he says, "No, you got to stay." And I said, "I'm going to Marco Island." He says, "I'm going to introduce you to a girl." So Dave Little was his name, and Dave introduced me to Kathy. And yeah, it was different. I had never really had that. I mean, we've been married now 42 years and 9 grandkids and 3 kids, and she's an angel. And I said in the book, they say there's no such thing as love at first sight, but yeah, I love her so much. It's great.
And love at sight till this day.
Yeah.
So you're at Pinehurst. This is an incredible job. You're fairly young, but you relatively soon, in the early 80s, decided to come to this area.
Yeah. There were a variety of things that happened at Pinehurst that were hundreds of great things, but there were a couple things that were pretty difficult. Pinehurst at the time was in transition with ownership, and it was a little bit awkward sometimes working, and just there was a lot of maybe more chaos, not necessarily in the golf end, but through the whole deal. And hesitant to say this, but we had a baby boy born there, and we lost him. Right. And and Matthew was 7 months old, and when that happened, and with things going on, Kathy and I just said maybe we need to just see what might be out there in the world. And,
sort of a fresh start,
yeah,
and maybe bad memories there.
Yeah, well, and we still go back all the time, and but anyhow, I got to looking, and I said, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I was going to Inverness in Toledo. That's where I was going, and I had the job. I thought I would go anywhere after Pinehurst, and as it turned out, Inverness didn't work, and I saw this club in Kansas, and what intrigued me about it was pure golf, all men, and it had a position open for a general manager and golf professional, could cope doing both roles. And I felt like after being with 5 courses for 3 years, and maybe I should just investigate this. So I sent a 1-page resume and no references, and came out and got an interview and got offered the job. And wow. Kathy,
and that's at Wolf Creek.
That's at Wolf Creek, and spent 27 years, which was a perfect match for a young guy and with a soon to be a young family. And the move to Kansas is something that, again, it wasn't one of those. It was just a good break. It was couldn't have worked out better. I can't imagine a better place to have spent 27 years of my career than there. I can't imagine it.
And of course, you get to run across. You talked about Marty Schottenheimer and George Brett, and a lot of people love golf, and Wolf Creek's the place to be if you love golf in Kansas City. And so that must have been fun part of it too.
Oh, it was. You never knew
Tom
who would
Watson
show up.
And
oh yeah, I mean, it's funny. Mickey Rooney shows up one day with a member, and you have Billy Ray Cyrus and Michael Bolton, and it's like. Wow, everybody here, if someone's coming doing Starlight or doing something, they would usually find a member to host them and be a guest. And yeah, I could write a book just about some of those people that showed up. It was, Bill Russell. I mean, that was, there's a great story about Bill Russell coming to Wolf Creek. Yeah.
So you spent 27 years there, but you weren't done with iconic golf courses, because the stop after Wolf Creek, after all those years, was maybe my favorite golf course in the world, the Prairie Dunes.
Yeah. I didn't put the story in the book, but I've got it outlined, and it's called Bookends. And it's Prairie Dunes at one end and Pinehurst at the other. And the parallels are scary. I mean, the family history with the Tufts family at Pinehurst and the Carey family at Prairie Dunes, with the USGA involvement with the tournaments at Prairie Dunes and at Pinehurst, with the great architecture, Donald Ross and Perry Maxwell, with the there's so many parallels, and to have been a part of both of those places in a small way was really, really cool to sandwich my Wolf Creek career. So Prairie Dunes, I had been at Wolf Creek 27 years, and we had gone through some major renovation changes, clubhouse, golf course.
Had a fire there.
You fire early on, yeah. And things were changing, and everything was new. The only thing that wasn't new there was me. And I just think a little twinkle. I saw a thing for Prairie Dunes, a little flyer about the general manager's job, and I said to Kathy, I said, everybody probably in the world thinks I should be at Wolf Creek for my whole career, and I probably would be or should be, but I'm going to just send a resume down. I knew what a resume was then. So I sent one down to Prairie Dunes, and they called me back pretty much immediately. I did a little interview over the phone, and they had Kathy and I down, and then they offered me the job. And I had Rod Ray, who had worked with me, was tremendous, and he just seamlessly moved into what I was doing at Wolf Creek. And Wolf Creek was in great hands, and they had all new stuff, and now that was new also. So with Rod but Prairie Dunes, I mean, without a doubt, I mean, that's a masterpiece. I mean, what Preston Perry Maxwell did down there, I mean, in the sand hills of Hutchinson, Kansas. I mean, it's incredible to have that club, most wonderful people, and great national membership. I mean, it's a place where you never knew who's going to walk through the door. I mean, I should have written this story about Bill Murray. Bill Murray's brother, Brian Doyle, is a member. And so we got to see Bill Murray a lot. And he's as funny and as caustic as you think. I mean, so, Prairie Dunes is special. And having the Big 12 and having the Women's Open, having the Senior Open, Transmiss, I mean, it's fantastic. And so that really was a great experience to be down there for a time.
So you were there for a few years, and then why the next step?
I guess the next step was I had a little moment when I reached 60. And when I hit 60, I said, okay, what's God have in store for me now? And so we had built this facility over in Eudora called Twin Oaks Golf, and built it in 91. And it operated pretty much with me doing my regular job, although I was the major investor and partner or shareholder in the deal. And it was shut down because when we moved to Hutchinson, we decided to just close the doors. So we closed it for 3 years. And I've always had a heart for kids. And I said, what can I do in the next stage of my life to impact golf, and maybe in particular junior golf? And so I had gone to school. This is a follow-up on my education. I was a non-undergrad, but I got to go to MBA school at Chapel Hill. And the people that were from the banks that were at Pinehurst, they sent me to school because they liked the way I managed and worked. And they sent me to this program in the MBA school, Young Executive Institute. So it's focused specifically on strategic planning. How do you strategically plan everything you want to do here? So we did a strategic plan at Pinehurst, at Wolf Creek, and at Prairie Dunes, and it was very, very fun to do it. Prairie Dunes especially, because I got to facilitate that. But after I made the decision to move back, I said, okay, with this junior golf thing, what do we need? How do we need to think strategically? So I came up with an idea of building a program called Snag in School, Snag Starting New at Golf. And what I did is I researched this company, and a couple golf pros started this company, and they have equipment and curriculum that PE teachers, it's designed for them, PE teachers, not golf pros.
Right.
So I wrote up a strategic plan for the Midwest PGA section, and I started traveling the Midwest, going to school districts and teaching teachers to teach golf in the gym in the PE setting. And we have introduced golf to over 300,000 kids in Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, and pretty much all over the country with smaller programs. I've gone to Connecticut, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, even Chicago. Illinois. So we've been so that program potentially is a game changer, because if a golf pro is going to reach how many kids? 100 kids, 200 kids?
Right.
Every school teacher reaches 300 every day. So anyhow, that was a thing I did, and I did that in the winters for about 10 years. And with COVID, it stalled out a little bit, and there's some challenges there, but it's awful rewarding, and the Midwest section's been very supportive, and our foundation in the Midwest section provides all the equipment to schools basically for free. It's $3,000 grants. So anyhow, that was one of the motivating things, kids. So now being active with First Tee and doing programming 3 days a week with them, and working with KU, I teach a golf class there with a accredited 1-hour class. We do kids on Saturday. We might have from 70 to 100 kids on every Saturday. We do high school golf teams. So really, I mean, I feel like sometimes the Pied Piper or Johnny Appleseed or something. I don't know. Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, then you were laid up a little bit physically, and that's when you decided to put all these fantastic stories down in print. And in talking to you, and I think people listening to this can tell that there's probably a volume 2 here somewhere around the. Maybe wrap up with one more favorite story from the book, because there are so many. But maybe.
Let me just say. I know one. Okay. I mean, a lot of them, but one of them that I really, really like is I met a guy named Bill. And I met a guy named Bill. Probably the number one, if they can rate him number one, architect in the golf today is Bill Coore with Ben Crenshaw.
Right.
And Bill Coore is a real interesting fella. He's from Thomasville, North Carolina. He went to Wake Forest. He studied classical Greek. And that's another story in itself. And I was working at Johns Island, and Pete Dye, who was one of the great architects of all time, had built Johns Island South Course and was in the process of finishing the Johns Island North Course. And we're out one evening playing golf, and we come to the 16th hole. We're just kind of riding around the new course, the North Course, the 16th hole, and in the river, in the water, are these two guys taking railroad ties and lining them up against the wall in front of the 16th green. And now that's a Pete Dye trademark. He puts railroad ties, uses them all over his course, and I'm pretty outgoing.
Some places where he shouldn't.
I agree. And I see these two guys in the water putting these ties in, and I'm pretty friendly and social. So I said, "Hey, I'm Jeff Bury. Who are you guys? What are you doing?" And I said, "Do you play golf?" And then one of them says, "Yeah, I play." And it was Bill Coore. He was working for Pete Dye, and he was on the crew, and he'd play golf. We'd play golf in the evening some after he'd get off, and I'd get off at Johns Island. And turns out when I got to Pinehurst, Bill would come to Pinehurst quite often. His best friend, Stuart Kennedy, was a member there, and he'd come down, and we traveled to Casa de Campo together to play in pro-ams and stuff. And Bill became a really, really good friend. And so anyhow, Bill has probably built the best new golf course in Sand Hills, Nebraska. It's world renowned, and he and Ben Crenshaw did that. And that's the second part of Bill. I met a guy named Bill, part 2, how the Sand Hills thing all came about. But Bill Coore after he transitioned from working for Pete, he went to Waterwood National in outside of Houston, Houston, Texas, and called me one day and he said, "I'm working on a 9-hole golf course down in near Corpus Christi, Rockport, Texas." And he said, "Can you come down and see what I'm doing?" So I got on a Southwest flight to Corpus, and he picked me up. And when I saw what he did, he had taken a piece of raw land, and it was a masterpiece. It was just like a Leonardo da Vinci had done some work. It was unbelievable. Well, because of Bill Coore and Sand Hills, I'm an honorary member at Sand Hills Golf Club, and I've probably in the last, how many years? 90, and how
30 years or so.
Yeah, a long time ago. I mean, I've probably hosted, 100 people up there, and it's a bucket list deal, and it was one of the neatest gifts. But Bill Core is one of my dearest friends, and he's famous, and famous Bill. So anyhow, I just think that story, there's so much to the two stories about. I met a guy named Bill.
It seems to me like you've just about checked every box in the book in your life, and your book is called Blessed, and I think you probably do feel that way, don't you?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. My son Jed, and I've said this to multiple people, but my son Jed didn't like the name. He said, "Dad, it needs to be golf. It needs to be golf." I said, "Jed, it's all golf, but I'm blessed. I am blessed." And I don't think there's another name I could have used. And it's really special. And it's been a journey, and it continues. That's what's fun. It continues. I mean, I can't wait to see these grandkids play golf. It's a gift. The game of golf is a gift, and when I see the eyes light up, these little guys and girls' eyes light up over at Twin Oaks when they launch that ball out there, and I mean, it's like it just makes my heart pound. So it's fun, and so I'm kind of doing what I want to do, and that's kind of what could be better than that.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.